This is a show I've been wanting to do probably for about 25 episodes or so. We had discussed this a few months ago. How has this been fun for you? Have we kept this fun, number one? And number two, give me the evolution of like when podcasts started for you to where we're at now, because it's insane what has changed since you started.
Oh, well, I guess to answer the first question, what keeps me going, or, because, there's been so many times, so many podcasts where I think you guys will agree where it's just like, fuck, I don't feel like it today. I don't, you know, none of the topics sound all that interesting. My heart's just not into it. But as soon as the red light comes on and I just get to talk wrestling and shoot the shit with my buddies, I mean, it's every single time. It's like, oh yeah, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be, So it's like you always kind of have to remind yourself, it's like no matter how down in the dumps you feel or how disinterested you are, it's getting to chat with your friends, and it's the same thing in talking about the growth of the pod. It's more the growth of the community that we have, and just meeting all these cool fucking people that we get to talk to about this stupid hobby that we all have, that we all share, this love for. That's what keeps me going. It's just like I know I'm going to be fine once I get to start talking to my friends.
Ryan, with all of your hats, what keeps you going?
Yeah, I mean, to be quite honest, I don't have much of a social life anymore with these children. So my social life is mostly hanging out with you guys once a week, talking pro wrestling. So I mean, that's the biggest motivation for me. And then also when you've been doing it this long, um, it's I don't want to say easy, but it's very natural to do this show. Like I started doing the Bears podcast a couple of years ago, and that one I feel like I really have to study for and like really prep. It's more work. It's not all year round, mostly just during football season, so that's, it requires more of me, I would say. But this one, I've been doing it long enough that like I've kind of got the routine down as far as like how to produce it. After the fact, how I mix the audio and all that, but then also just like how to lay out the show. And then we're all pretty good friends. So it's just, it flows. We know each other very well at this point. So it flows really naturally. I mean, we used to do full show outlines at one point on the show, and we don't do that at all anymore. Sometimes we go into a show and we have no idea what we're going to be talking about. And it just like turn around and we're coming up on an hour. It just flows. There just naturally things come up. I like to think that that's why people like our show, because we don't try too hard. It's just natural, I think.
It's literally just like going and grabbing a beer with your buddy.
Yeah.
It's like to Ryan's point, it's that social interaction that some of us dads just don't have anymore.
Yeah, for real.
I am, like I said, 50% dad at this point, 100%, but I only have my son half the time. And my social life comes from the shoot job, number one. And then just depending on if I have a client who is in sports at this point, like prime example, I'm going to a humongous hockey game tonight where my client, senior captain at his school, is playing Edina, arguably the most prestigious high school hockey program in the state of Minnesota, probably the country. So it's like that's where my social life comes from, is probably sports outside of here. And then I would say the podcasting that I do here with you guys. And that's the community that has grown. So Ryan, I'll hit you with this. 2016, when you started Top Rope Press, rolled into a podcast as well. How was the growth, or like how slow was the growth you felt, like from where you were then to where you are now? Number one. And then number two, just like when it started growing, like how good did that feel? Number one. And number two, do you feel like you have hit the right target demographic?
Okay. Good questions. Well, I mean, I would rewind a little further. So my intro to podcasting was like before it was even called podcasting, because I did some internet radio shows in probably 03 maybe. When I was writing for WrestleView.com, which was one of my first wrestling writing gigs. And me and the guy who owned the site, his name was Paul Nemmer, and then Adam Martin, who listens to our show a lot still, we did these internet radio shows where, I mean, you used your cell phone, I remember. Like, I called him on a cell phone, and that's how it was recorded. I mean, think how primitive that was. Certainly no video or anything. They weren't, like I said, they weren't even called podcasts. I don't even know if the iPod was invented yet when we were doing those shows. And then I launched Top Rope Press, and that was in 2014. And I wanted to do the podcast then, but I just didn't really know how to do it. And on the website, there was like a tab that said podcast coming soon for 2 years before this show started. And like finally in 2016, I was like, all right, we'll figure it out. And we did like a couple test runs in July. In fact, I think if you go all the way back in the archives on our main podcast feed, the first show is like a WWE draft reaction show or something like that in like July of 2016. And my microphone was like a headset microphone on that one, I remember. And then I got like a pretty, just a USB plug-in microphone and started, did episode 1 with this guy named Jason Stout, who was a writer on the website. And then we did, then Kyle came on episode 2 because Kyle had podcasting experience going back to like 06, 07. And then, like, I don't know. I think if you listen to those early shows, they're decent. I kind of cringe at them, but like it was all right. But Kyle and I didn't know each other very well to start. So you got to kind of like get to know people before it starts to flow well. But the website, one of the interesting things about this show is like the website was really popular, and I would put the podcast in the side menu on the website. So people would like just naturally click on it just to check it out. And we did a lot of downloads almost right away. So those were some of our most listened to shows ever still. And they were like, honestly, looking back, not our best work. But then, I started writing for like Comic Book, and Top Rope Press became this weird thing where like it got enough visits where I had to upgrade the server because it would crash all the time. But then it became very expensive to keep the website online. And I went to a point where I was like making some money on the website and paying my writers. I always paid them. It wasn't a lot, but I paid them for what they did. To a point where then I had to upgrade the server cost because otherwise it would crash. And then I didn't make enough ad revenue to pay for that. So the ironic part was you become more successful and you make less money, right? And I was the least, I'll just tell you this right now. I made the least amount of money of anyone on that website because I paid the server costs and I paid all the writers first off, and then I kept what I had. It wasn't very much. And it got to the point where then I was getting writing gigs outside of there that were paying better. And it was like, I just can't justify the time of being a webmaster, an editor, and writing for the site. And I kept it going for a while I was writing on Comic Book. And then ultimately I shut the website down. And the bad part was then the podcast numbers crashed because I didn't have the outlet pushing it anymore. So by like 2018, we were really having to like dig ourselves out of a hole. We went from a point where we were doing like several hundred, if not 1,000 downloads per episode to like 50. It was like, oh my God, are we going to keep this going? And then we kind of started to slowly build it back up again. And then I remember we had a couple of breaks where we went 4 or 5 months without doing an episode around that time. Mm-hmm. And then we got pretty consistent again in like 2019. And then in 2020, we signed with Blue Wire, and that helped out a little bit. That's, we met you through there, met like people like Ben Cruz and Garrett through there and Jeremy, and did some crossover stuff. And ultimately did that show in Las Vegas, which was super fun. Double or Nothing weekend 2022. So we've built our numbers back up, but even though some of the numbers in those early days were still higher than we're doing right now, we didn't have the YouTube piece. We weren't doing video. We did it occasionally. If I have one regret, it's that we didn't focus on video as much early, because now it's really hard to rank on YouTube. And back then it was easier, and we'd only do the video shows sometimes. And we didn't really focus on video too much until I want to say 2021 or so, 22 maybe. So that's a regret. But what I was getting at is I feel that even though maybe the overall numbers aren't as high as when the website was pushing it, we have a more interactive audience now than we did. I often felt like we were just speaking into a void back then. We would rarely hear from people. But now, like once we started the Facebook group and then the Discord that we have now, and then the Patreon started growing, it's definitely more of a community now. So I feel like that's what I want out of a podcast more than numbers, is just like having a community around it. And like there are people listening to our show who are friends because of our podcast, which is super cool. So I feel we are hitting the metrics that I will want because of that, to your question.
Yeah. Justin, were you listening to podcasts when you started here, Top Rope Nation, in 2017?
Yeah, man. So when I got back into wrestling around 2010, like there wasn't all that many wrestling podcasts because like I wanted to hear feedback or reviews on the stuff I was watching, and the first one I came across, like the two hosts legit sounded like they fucking hated what they were watching. It's like, oh, this fucking sucks. Can't I find something where they're happy about it, or tell me what's good. So yeah, I was definitely listening to trying to find the right podcast, which is what really excited me when Ryan started his, because he's a wrestling voice that I've always appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
And then once Kyle came on, that just took it to a whole nother level with those two. And then eventually I came on to ruin it. But yeah. Yeah, the weird thing is that I would say the number of wrestling podcasts I listen to has dwindled through the years. I get kind of everything I want from talking to you guys. And honestly, there's one, maybe two others that I listen to on a regular basis. Obviously we've got buddies who do podcasts, and I'll hop in and listen to theirs occasionally. But yeah, man, that's been kind of my journey.
Give me some of your favorites, or give me two of your favorites outside of ours. Either one of you.
The only one that I listen to regularly, because I will listen to ours if I'm not in it, because I can't listen to me. Mm-hmm. But the only other wrestling podcast I listen to on a regular basis is We Watch Wrestling.
Okay. And I've never heard an episode. That's crazy.
It's one of the co-hosts. Well, one of them is, I think, a comedian / actor, and he's currently on tour with Pete Holmes, if anybody knows that name. And then the other one is the husband to any true crime podcast fans. His name is Vince Averill, and he's the husband to the one of the hosts of My Favorite Murder, which is a really huge and popular true crime podcast. And funny enough, when we went to All Out 2021, they were sitting right in front of us, and I listened to their podcast talking about the show, and they were talking about how fucking annoying somebody was behind them, who this person wouldn't shut up, and they were talking about Kyle.
Yeah.
So I messaged one of the co-hosts and told him, it's like, oh, he's a good dude. So I went back and forth with him for a little bit, and that was a lot of fun.
Oh my God.
That's so amazing.
Such a great
Justin.
story. I've never gone back and listened to that episode of theirs. I need to do that just to hear that.
It's really good.
Oh,
I'm in on that. Ryan, do you got a couple?
I mean, I always listen to Squared Circle Gazette when that comes out. There's none that I listen to like every single episode, I would say. Once in a while, I'll listen to like Post Wrestling. I like what they do here and there. Jeremy's New Japan show.
Yeah, I'm going to be listening to their preview.
Yep, for sure. And like I've been an Observer subscriber for a long time, so I'll listen to Observer Radio like here and there. It's not the kind of thing where I catch every single episode. But definitely Post Wrestling. I do like Our Vantage Point, if you guys have ever seen them, especially when they're on YouTube, because they do like watch-alongs to 80s WWF. Or if you just search like OVP Wrestling, I like those guys a lot. They're pretty good. The main host, his name's Joe Marotta, and he's got I appreciate it as like a techie with this stuff. He just has a crazy setup. It's super cool. But they do watch-alongs to like old 80s WWF in order. And on YouTube, they will actually like put the video on the screen, or you can listen to it on the podcast. I like watching the video of it. They did lose their archive at one point. Like YouTube pulled it, so then they like restarted it. But they're pretty good. I like them too. But and then of course I listen to your show, Jesse, every single week when it drops here on the Patreon.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. I try to bring a different flavor. Go ahead, Justin.
I was just I kind of want to just circle way back real
Yeah.
quick to when you asked about like what keeps me going with the podcast, what keeps us going. Uh, Kyle's quit around WrestleMania 39. Is that right?
Yes, a couple
The
days
Los
before
Angeles one.
WrestleMania 39. Yeah,
Yeah.
2023. Yeah, yep.
The December before that, around that time, uh, I really wanted to quit the pod. For whatever, and I'm sorry, I don't remember if I've told you guys this before or shared this on the pod, but yeah, around the December before Kyle quit, I was kind of felt done. Um, I don't know exactly what it was. It was just that thing was like every podcast is like, oh fuck, I just don't feel like doing it this night. And then again, once the red light came on, I was good, but just getting to those pods at that time frame, I just felt exhausted. And honestly, I think the reason I didn't quit is because I could just never come up with the courage to tell Ryan that I didn't want to do it anymore.
Jeez.
So I hung on and I hung on. And honestly, when Kyle left, what kept me going is I didn't want to let Ryan down. I wanted to keep the pod going for him. And because of our friendship and then things really felt like I expected when Kyle left that everything was going to drop off a ledge, that the Patreons would leave and viewership would just, sink. And it didn't happen. And that really, really bolstered me. It made me feel good about the podcast and what me and Ryan had going. And I'm not saying any of this to slam Kyle, who's a dear friend. And I would love to have back, but uh,
Absolutely.
that was a huge moment for me and the podcast that really strengthened the relationship.
Yeah.
I think you were in the thick of having Will, your youngest.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So
That would have been right around then. So there
Yeah.
was a lot of shit going on.
Oh yeah.
That was just a wild couple of years. Because I was just in Chicago this last weekend and drove right by the hotel that we stayed at for All Out 21, where we did like the post show in the hotel. You can watch it on our YouTube channel with Kyle and all of us. We had such a blast, and a lot of our podcasting friends were at that same hotel. And that was like in the fall of 21, and then we did that Vegas show in May of 22. It seemed like, man, the show was really, really on the up and up. But like in the
Yeah.
fall of 22, Kyle definitely was like not wanting to watch modern wrestling anymore. And it was hard to get him to do the show. So neither of us were shocked when he wanted to step away. And there were some other reasons too that I won't talk about on air, but not drama between us. It's because of his real life shoot job and making the podcast work. He does a lot of content for that too. So, when he was like, I could maybe do some stuff behind the Patreon wall, but I don't want to do the main feed more. We weren't surprised because he was like really hating modern wrestling to the point where we were like, I don't know, it might be a detriment to the show, honestly.
Yeah.
And
well,
then
that goes back to when I first got back into wrestling in 2010 and trying to find something where all they did was, shit on the product, the product that I was enjoying.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think all the punk drama that started happening by the end of that year also, like, he'll never say this, but Kyle is a huge punk fan. And I think that like ruined his enjoyment of AEW for sure. And that was one of the reasons he didn't want to even watch AEW anymore. So yeah, we had like that ultimate high in the spring of 22 doing that show in the studio in Vegas at the Wynn to like by the end of the year, both of you guys were questioning if you even want to do it. And I was too, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
But we kept chugging. I often would feel that same way too about like doing the show, like, oh crap, got to do it tonight. I'm not ready. But then once we do the show and the light comes on, then you feel better about it. And then you're excited, and maybe you weren't feeling excited about it that day. But I also felt too, like when Kyle stepped away, because, basically me and him started the show. He wasn't on episode 1, but he was on episode 2. I have like massive imposter syndrome a lot. So I was like, I don't know if people are going to want to keep listening if Kyle's gone and it's just me and if Justin stays or if I have to get somebody else or, what's going to happen to the numbers? Is everyone going to cancel their Patreon? And like you said, that hasn't happened. In fact, we have more patrons right now and our numbers have increased since that moment in time, amazingly.
Unbelievable.
So, I mean, it definitely sucked to lose Kyle. We try to get him back as much as we can. And we still talk to him a lot on text. But like, it's definitely one of those things where it's got to be classic wrestling because he hates modern wrestling. But yeah, we definitely had a vibe. So like when all three of us were on, some of those shows are just really entertaining to listen to still. So then we had to toy with like, okay, do we do this a 2-man show? Do we bring on a third man? And Justin and I just did it ourselves for, I don't know, 4 or 5 months, something like that, before we brought you on, Jesse. And
Mm-hmm.
we had collaborated and met up by that point in time. And so we knew that you would definitely fit in. I liked what you did producing your own show, like knowing how challenging that can be. And I would listen to your show often. And so I'm like, man, if this guy could do a show by himself, he can certainly come in and make this a trio again. So,
Like I told you a few weeks ago, it's weird doing a show with other people now, with me hosting. It's not weird when you're in the host chair at all, Ryan. I'm like you. I can just sit back, relax. You can fire questions, and we can just shoot the shit all day. It's so easy. So I'll give you the Cliff Notes version of my last 5.5 years and call it good. August of 2020 was my first ever episode. I bought podcast equipment in June because being a small business owner, I was fortunate enough to get a little bit of unemployment just because of what was going on with COVID-19. So I got way more than I thought I was going to get. So I invested in podcast equipment. Bam. Rolled out not just a wrestling podcast, but a fitness and nutrition one too. So I think gaining that experience over time, but at the same time, fitness and nutrition, I got some pretty good guests on there, including one. I got Shinsuke Nakamura's violinist from his NXT TakeOver days on there, and it's still one of my favorite episodes to this day. So we talked a lot about his activism, social activism in Colorado, Maryland, just a lot of the Black Lives Matter stuff that was going on with George Floyd, which was right in my backyard. That precinct that burned down, I was living in an apartment probably 4 blocks away from where that happened. Wow. Yes. So at that point, I was contemplating, do I stay here much longer? Do I move? I was involved in cleanup that weekend from all that had been burned down. Lindale Avenue was burned down. We were like literally taking trash cans. People were volunteering to throw things out and clean up the city again. And I don't think Minneapolis has recovered, if I'm being 100% honest, since then. It's been a tough job. I don't envy Derek Fry at all right now. I mean, I think this is a second or third term, but it's been tough. So back to podcasting, ran with fitness and nutrition till about 2022. But in Twitter land, in social media land, I had met so many cool people. So many. I've had so many phenomenal guests, and that's what kept me going. Starting writing with Daily DDT, then rolling into WrestleJoy with Andy and Amy Nemedy, who are huge on Blue Sky right now. Like, I think they were the ones who started the whole Blue Sky movement. And then Blue Wire, where I got connected with Garrett Gonzalez. I met Kel Dansby, Andreas Hale, Warren Hayes, who got me into Daily DDT. Like, shout out to him too. There's just so many people I could go through. But then, now let's really cut this. The contest, Top Rope Nation contest that I end up winning. You guys, All Out 21, you were there, and I won the contest, and you paid for All Out 21. Still sure to did. This day, arguably, do you still think it's the best pay-per-view of all time? It's close.
Ooh, it's definitely AEW's most memorable for sure. I don't know, like wrestling wise, top to bottom, but I think it's their most memorable, 100%.
Yeah, Justin, think it's still up there, yeah.
Yeah, it's top 5.
Is it your favorite episode you've ever been to, or favorite show you've ever been to?
Ooh, man,
because you guys have been to a lot now.
It is my favorite because of like the people we were there with and stuff. Like, I thought about it walking in this past weekend to World's End, same venue. I remember that massive line, Justin, to get in there, wrapped around the building. There was literally like people outside, like a little band playing CM Punk's theme.
That's right. I forgot about that.
The traffic was crazy. Kyle's friend Brian drove us there. I think either you or Kyle pissed in the parking lot after the show. I remember, right by his car, because we had to go so bad. Yeah. And it was going to be a huge line of traffic getting out of there. But like, okay, so I got to meet up with Andrew Zarian that weekend from Mad Men, who I had been a huge fan of his show since 2014. He was one of the inspirations of launching Top Rope Nation because I like Mad Men so much. And we ended up doing some shows together and stuff over the years, but we had never met up in person. So I met up with him that weekend. Met up with Garrett that weekend for the first time. Meltzer was there, but I don't think we met up with him. And we all kind of sat together. So we had really awesome seats straight on from the ring, lower level, towards the top of the lower level, but right in the middle. So it was like me, Kyle, Justin, Garrett, Jeremy was Feinstone was there. And then right behind us was like Andrew Zarian, his wife, Rich Stamboli, and his co-host from Mad Men. There were certain people there that had edibles in the crowd. I won't say who. Made for a fun environment, I remember. Just like, man, it was such a great crew to watch that show. And then the way the show happened and everything that went down with Brian and Adam Cole and you know, and all of that before coming out at the end. God, it's my favorite show I've ever been to live for sure, I think, just because of all of those factors.
Yeah, I would agree. And then probably a close second is Double or Nothing. Getting to go to Vegas, we got to meet a bunch of our friends / listeners at a little meet and greet. Getting to do that podcast in the studio was incredible, and sharing a hotel room with Kyle is also quite an experience.
I forgot you guys had the same hotel room in Vegas. Yep. That's right. I totally forgot about that. Oh man. You know, the other thing about the All Out 21 is I made a vlog that weekend that you guys can watch on our YouTube channel. If you've never seen it, if you search All Out Vlog on the Top Rope Nation YouTube channel, there's stuff with us like in a restaurant the weekend we got there, going to pro wrestling tees, Justin and I liquor shopping. There's all kinds of stuff in that vlog that's pretty entertaining to go back and watch now. So we got like all of that documented, which is cool. It's the only time I've ever done that on the channel, made a vlog of our travel to a show. And then, like the post show we did in the hotel room. I mean, my favorite podcast we've ever done is definitely the Vegas one. I mean, no offense, Jesse. Hopefully we can do that with you sometime. But man, that was just crazy to think about how we had started this show with pretty primitive microphones in our basements over Skype. And then we were like sitting in this multi-million-dollar studio at the Wynn in Vegas while people were walking by, like watching us through the glass with our logo projected 10 feet tall behind us. And God, I mean, that was pretty awesome. So I remember even like one guy knocked on the window and wanted to know, like, hey, I'm podcasting. Can you give me some tips to get to this point or something like that? He asked me. That was unreal, man. That was such a cool time. So, flying out to Vegas and doing that's also hard to top.
Love Vegas. Got to the 2019 Double or Nothing, the first one, sat like fourth row from the top, second level, and it was still a tremendous experience. I can just remember everything about it. That's not my number one show of all time, but it ranks up there. This is probably cliche. I'd say All Out 23 with you guys, because we went in with such low expectations.
Mm-hmm.
The lowest of the low, and we walked out of there blown away by what we had just seen. There wasn't even a world title match on that card.
Yeah, I felt revitalized from that show.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that was just a fun weekend too. We went out downtown, remember that pizza place or something, got some drinks, take a bus or something back to our hotel that night. I remember Collision the night before too. Justin coming Saturday morning or Sunday morning. I remember. Got there by like 11 a.m. Left so early. Oh man. That's up there too. That was a really fun weekend. We met Sean Skelton that weekend, who's one of our longest supporters. Yeah.
I think inspired this segment.
I'm wondering if that was the first time I met Haydorn or not too.
Yeah.
But that was my first time in the United Center.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
That's right.
Same.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a fun time too. We've had a lot of memorable moments. And like these are things, as you guys listen to this, you can go back in the archives and listen to all this. Listen to our post All Out 23 show. Watch the Vegas show on YouTube. The studio show is on there at the Wynn studio. You can watch it on YouTube. The All Out vlog, all of that. We got a vast archive. Sometimes I look at our YouTube and it's like, I can't believe we have 573 videos on there. That's crazy. It's just one of the things about doing a wrestling podcast is that it's all time sensitive. You know, like I do my history YouTube channel and that stuff just traffics all the time. The frustrating thing about doing a wrestling podcast usually is that unless it's like a classic topic, it lives for about a week and then like nobody ever revisits it. You know, and we got this wealth of content out there that sometimes it's cool to go back and relive, at least for the settings like the Vegas show or the vlog or, that kind of stuff. So I hope people go back and check that out once in a while.
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of circle back, when I listened to the show with you and Zach Haydorn and Kyle Justin, the television draft.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the best wrestling matches on television. Like that immediately had me hooked. And you guys became my favorite podcast at that point.
Nice.
So
That's
I went
awesome.
back to the archives, listened to some things, and I'm like, okay, how do I get to where they are? Like you mentioned, somebody knocking on that window in Vegas, wondering how you get there. And to be co-hosting now, it's still a little surreal in spite of the fact that we know each other so well. I think now over the last 3 years, because I went down to Iowa, went to All Out 22, saw Full Gear 22 at your house, and have been there ever since then. And yeah, that's where I am right now. So
yeah,
it's been a fun ride.
Wrestling is such a great gateway to friendships, like I was talking about with even just the community, but yeah, like getting to know you. I mean, what are the odds you win our random drawing on Twitter to get that All Out pay-per-view paid for, and then you're doing the show and traveling with us within like a year? It's wild.
Unbelievable stuff. So yeah, thank you everybody in the chat and everyone who's going to be listening here soon.
Should be played at high volume, preferably in a residential area.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time!
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah!
I finished these fights.
Give me a hell yeah!
Top Rope Nation.
Learn to love it! It's the best thing going today.
The best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be! And you know it!
With a tears in my eyes.
The cream of the crop. Acknowledge me.